few minutes, we're in conversation with Nhlanhla Lux just to hear his response to what the president said yesterday during his official address on Human Rights Day. We'll play the clip as well, and this is on the vigilante groups or groups that are promoting vigilantism, like Dudula, as he mentioned. So we'll play that clip and then also then speak to Nhlanhla Lux to hear his response, and that's the leader of the Soweto Parliament. But first of all, that clip that I told you about earlier on, this is now from the speech that was delivered by the First Lady of Namibia, Monica Gengos, at the Southern Africa Mandela Washington Fellowship Regional Conference in Johannesburg. I'm going to play it again. Just take a listen to what she has to say about the distribution of wealth, but also looking into how people react. And these are now people who don't benefit from the wealth of their communities or their country.
Beyond the Headline with Aldrin Sampear on SAfm, weekdays 3 to 6 p.m. SAfm 104 to 107 nationwide. You are listening to Aldrin Sampear on SAfm. Conversations that you connect with and react to. SAfm. SAfm values your views. Be an active citizen.
Okay, guys, can we just quickly see if we have the clip ready there, the First Lady of Namibia? Can we just quickly play that clip?
You are listening to Aldrin Sampear on SAfm.
So we need to find a better way to distribute resources. We need to find a better way to include everybody in the community, because you need to look at a society, a country's citizens as a group. A group is supposed to protect, people protect the group. You act in a protective way to allow the group to survive. Now, if there are people in that group who don't benefit from it, who are not protected by it, they actually benefit from chaos. That is exactly what they'll do. And in this trend, where if people act in an inhumane way, we want to call them savages, but we allow them to live in inhumane conditions. But when they react in inhumane ways, we judge them for that. It's as much... So that is as much our responsibility as it is theirs. If I have no interest in that group, I don't care for its peace and stability, because that peace and stability doesn't translate into a better life for me. So we must be more inclusive.
Yeah, so that is the First Lady of Namibia, Monica Gengos, speaking about why it is important to be more inclusive. And with what she just said now, I'm going to now play a portion of what the president had to say yesterday. This is now part of his official address, speaking about these vigilante groups or groups that are promoting vigilantism. And just take a listen to what the president had to say. And then after that, we're speaking to the president of the Soweto Parliament, Nhlanhla Lux.
Those who are setting up the organization saying, Bo Dudula, Bo Mangmang, Rere, that is contravening the law. We cannot allow a situation where we are going to get people who will embark on vigilantism to deal with a problem, a social problem. We must collectively as South Africans deal with it. Runa from government side, we will do our work. But we also want to say, let us work together. It's highly sensitive because this thing can soon turn out into xenophobia, and you know how the continent can turn its back on us. We rely on this continent of 1.3 billion people for our business, for our livelihoods, for our imports, and so therefore, as we deal with the immediate problem, let us be wise, let us not be violent, and let us make sure that we remember we are a country of diverse people, and hence the appeal we make to our employers: do not employ undocumented workers, because when you do, you are just going to create tension amongst the people of our country.
Well, that was the president yesterday. Now we're going to speak to Nhlanhla Lux, who is the president of the Soweto Parliament. Nhlanhla, good afternoon. Thank you so much for making time for us. What's your response to what the president had to say yesterday during his human rights address?
So, look, we analyzed what the president said, and to everyone's surprise, we actually welcomed the president's speech. He was very honest in the fact that as much as Operation Tutola, the president didn't say Operation Tutola, he said Tutola and other movements alike. We can't deny the fact that our influence is national, and people are now forming their own operations, and people might not be necessarily get up or informed about how to operate within the boundaries of the law. We can't deny that we've got that influence. We can't deny that we are on very thin ice in terms of influencing possible xenophobic attacks. I mean, I'm a very honest leader, so it doesn't mean that when you are not doing it, you can't influence it. It might be intentional or unintentional, but you've got that influence. So we need to be very responsible with that influence. That's why when people are launching Operation Tutola or Tutola or whatever movements in their own communities, we take our time to go give social education and help them understand how they can work within the boundaries of the law. And where we haven't gotten into some communities, we know that we've had bad experiences where people just operated, and unfortunately they got to the other end of the law, and some of them find themselves in prison, etc. But in terms of the president's speech, he was just shy of saying that it's important for them to admit that they failed, and hence he said that it's time that we work together. Because you can't invite people to come and work with you if you don't need them there or they don't have value add. So what we'll do is we'll take that call serious by the president of our country, and we'll go into government, because we don't also want to be seen as a movement and people that just want to cause anarchy on the street or look like we are causing anarchy on the street. We just want to sing the whole day. If the president opens the doors for us to work with the Minister of Home Affairs, let's do it. Let's start having programs of Home Affairs from inside instead of having programs from the streets. Let's start working with Minister Peggy to make sure that from a public point of view, from a civic movement point of view, we've got our representatives in there, and we can hold them accountable from within. And let's also hold his office as the president accountable to say that I think you're going slow, or I think you're doing this wrong, so that there is no divide between the people and the government of this country.
Mm-hmm. So are you a vigilante group?
We're not a vigilante group. Let's define vigilante. Mm-hmm. Vigilante is when people, a group of people, enforce the law unauthorized. Now, when you Google the law. Yeah, no, look. When people are enforcing the law unauthorized. Yeah, so when you look at all our videos, please Google now, go to YouTube. You will always see a SAPS member or a Johannesburg Metro Police member in that video. So what we are in essence doing, we are making sure that people are getting up from their sleep mode. For example, the ministers are now working. Metro Police are now working overtime, clearing the pavement because the bylaws belong to them, are under their jurisdiction. The police are now finding themselves having to wake up early and working because we are there to enforce because our programs are with them. So they are working beyond reasonable doubt. And we've never seen a time like this in South Africa where government is on its toes working for the people of South Africa because the people of South Africa have put them in that corner or position. And this is where we become active citizens, because the more active we are as citizens, government needs to complement our activism as citizens. Otherwise, there's a big problem. And that's what you're seeing now.
So Wetton had an article where one of the people who claimed to be part of the Dudula movement, for instance, broke into his home and accused him of having drugs.
We are actually happy with that accusation. Why we are extremely happy is because that accusation comes at a time where we have full video footage, not just photos, video footage of that operation from when that man was fetched from where he was to in the house, and we spoke to him.
So where were the police then?
They were there. So if they were there, the police were there. So
when his home was being ransacked and when the appliances, as he says, that everything was being turned upside down.
No. You must give us footage of his home being ransacked. There was no ransacking of his home. Please give us footage so that we deal with facts, not people's opinions. I'm saying I have a video. You are now responding from his accusation or allegations. I have a video. I can send it, put it live now for all our viewers to see. Let's speak facts, not our opinions.
Please post it and then I'll retweet it from our end as well. But then just on a broader part in what you said earlier on about other organizations starting up as well and under the name of Dudula, whatever they call themselves, the risk that we run as well of people becoming violent.
Yes.
You know, in the name of a Dudula, for instance.
Yes.
How do we make sure it doesn't come to a point of what the president is warning about these xenophobic violence?
Yeah, look, I think in my introduction when I spoke, I did admit to the fact that we do have the influence, positive and negative. And as proper leaders of this country, young people, we need to also be responsible with the possible negative influence. Yes, some people see what we do, they admire, and they also try to implement in their communities, but they don't have that understanding of how the law works. They don't even partner with the law enforcement in their communities. It becomes a problem. And that's why we invest our own time and little resources that we have to make sure that we educate the communities, to make sure that if someone raises their hand and says that we from Mpumalanga, we want to do, we go there, we say come here, so that you understand what this operation and what this movement is about, so you don't do it wrong. And unfortunately, whenever we didn't have the opportunity to engage a community, that's where you saw the problems. So we do acknowledge that there is a very high risk of things going possibly wrong, not because that's how we wanted it, but because that's what life is. You might mean well, but your influence might mean something else. And we are here saying that we are manning up to that. We're taking full responsibility, and that is why we'll work closer with government and even much closer with the law enforcement that we've always been working with to ensure that we move the country forward better together.
So just a final one. Last year when you had the opportunity of speaking to the president, did you raise these issues with him as well?
Yeah, again, I've never had a meeting with the president. I haven't. Instead, I've had meetings with people that report to the president. Since Maponya Mall, since when I've never had a meeting with the president of our country.
I'm saying during the time of the Maponya Mall when it was, I think it was it Nelson Mandela Day? Yeah, Mandela Day.
Yeah, no. During that Maponya Mall, when the president came to Maponya, I think it's out there. You can find it on YouTube. I said to the president, without even sounding funny, I had 8 days of no sleep or something like that. I said to the president, we are still very busy making sure that the mall is under proper security. And I think because you are here, it might give us a compromise. So we are still busy. We are going to come. We'll find time to come to your office. I realized later that actually I just told the president of the country that I'm busy. He must wait for my call. But that's not how we had. That's not what I had literally meant, but we're busy on site. And after we handed the mall back to the management to say that I think we've done our job here as the young people of Soweto and everyone else who was involved, then we went back to our normal schedule, which is also a very tight schedule. And ever since, I haven't had the opportunity to meet the president until I bumped into him during when he was campaigning in Soweto, because Soweto is my jurisdiction. I'll definitely bump into him. But otherwise, to meet with the president and have a conversation longer than 60 seconds, I've never done that in my entire life.
Just a final one again. So when the president, when you had the conversation with the president back in July, and there was also, of course, all of this praise. He has this young man protecting or calling on Sowetans to protect Maponya Mall. And then this same young man is now a young man who's also leading a group that is seen in the eyes of many as a vigilante group. How do you respond to that?
Yeah, look, I've addressed what's vigilante. We're not vigilante by any means, but I'll address that by saying that it's not my problem in particular, personally, that people knew about me when the cameras faced my direction. We've been doing what we're doing for our communities for the last 10 years. Maybe if you have the time, we can do an exercise and go to some trainings that we've been part of our programs and beneficiaries of our programs in our own communities, people that are there that can give you testimonies of our work since 10 years. Maponya thing is that we're able, we're willing, we're intentional and deliberate about making a difference in our communities, and that's why we're caught with the cameras facing our direction, and we're the most competent, because some people were not raising their hands up to face the challenges of our communities, being the looting at the time.
Thank you so much for your time, Tlantla. Don't forget to
Appreciate
post
you
the
so
video
much
as well, yeah, and we'll
Yeah. I'll talk to our camera guys to post it as soon as possible.
Thanks a lot. Tlantla,
And again, sorry, Eldrin. What I'll also do is I'll release a proper statement around the issue so that we are all on the same page and we keep our listeners informed. And maybe after receiving whatever the case is, when it comes to our side, I'll talk to our legal guys to say that this video can release it immediately. Will it mean anything tomorrow? Because I'm not a legal person. But if there's no problem, I'll release it with immediate effect. Like immediately, right now. I'll release it, no problem.
First.
I just want to check that if I release it first on Instagram, can it be used in the court of law moving forward? Those technical things that we take for granted, because we have a full video of that man walking in from the first step to when we left, and Newsroom has complimenting videos because we're on live interviews as we left, and I also gave update of what's happening.
Did you guys find any drugs?
No, we didn't.
Okay, but you welcome the accusation, though.
Oh, no, we welcome the accusation. If someone says that Lux is selling drugs in his community, I also need to understand the fact that drugs are a big problem that is hijacking the future of our children here in South Africa. We can't have youth that is majority high in the townships, and when someone says that problem is coming from that house, we all tiptoe around the issue. We need to confront these issues. Yes, we need to confront them in a certain process.
Did you guys apologize to the men?
Oh, yes, it's on camera. And I said, listen, but if you are lying to me, it's on the camera. If you are lying to me, I will personally come back here and make sure that everyone else learns never to lie to the community ever again. What that means, I can explain to you another time.
So does this mean that every time an accusation comes out that this is
what... But it's not an accusation and a reaction.
It's an accusation, as you said, right at the beginning, right?
My man, if it's a reaction, it's a problem. But we plan the action. So that when people say this house is selling, my man,
anything, but the issue is here.
I can't interview you now, Eldrin. Eldrin, you're interviewing me. Let me respond to your question.
You have an old man in his home. His house is ransacked. He's accused of selling drugs.
No, but it's not ransacked. That's what you are now making it believe that it's ransacked. You are still not saying it properly. Be fair. Be in the middle of the situation until we can know what the truth is. I say I've got a full video, but you are presenting it so that the listener can take it as if we ransacked the house. That's irresponsible of you, Eldrin.
So you are saying that it's not a ransack, it was just an accusation that was made?
No. If you allow me to talk, then you won't have to talk for me. I'm saying when a community says this house is selling drugs, we take that information and then we sit down, we plan an operation with the law enforcement present and that community present and say that we are now confronting what we say is a challenge in the community. Whether it's drugs, whether it's child pornography, doesn't matter. Whatever the problem of the community is, we will take action to plan a proper operation with all law enforcement so that we are operating within the boundaries of the law. If you find that hard to understand, I have no other words to explain.
Ntantla Lux, President of the Soweto Parliament, thank you so much for your time, and let's see the video, if possible, if it released that video. Let's take some of your voice notes before we head to the news. His house is ransacked.
No evidence doesn't mean he's innocent. We know about these things when Aldrin. We're from Soweto. That guy is talking about the realities that we are facing every day. So stop interjection and listen to him, because what he's talking about, as people, we can relate, because we have a drug problem in our township, the townships that you guys ran away from. Come on, man. Afternoon, Aldrin. Our president is losing his mind. He was addressing people from Koster, people who are poor because of his ANC. He cannot discipline his own people, but he's quick to jump to vigilantism and stuff. if he wants us to listen to him, let him start by disciplining his own party members, and let's see if he has what it takes to lead this country forward. Because the man that we are talking to is busy selling bulls for 2.3 million, and yet he's leading a failed nation. So must we listen to that person? Hell no, I won't listen to him. Thank you.
It's 4:30, time for the news headlines.